Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we're talking about spring makeup. As I'm filming this, it is officially the first day of spring and I thought I'd get in the mood and talk about some fun palettes that are especially perfect for this season. Of course, you can wear your palettes anytime you want. I do all the time. I wear dark greens in May and I wear pastels in October and whatever I want. But I still think it's fun to think about theming and to think about the palettes that you own, and maybe you can incorporate them in your everyday makeup life. Real quick before we get started, I want to thank you so much for clicking on my video. I want to address the elephant that is my face. I wanted to do my makeup a little bit more quickly because the sun is going to set pretty soon and I sort of think I went a little bit crazy. But it's okay. This is actually one of the palettes I'm talking about, and from up close it looks beautiful, but from afar it looks a little bit 80s to me. Maybe a little bit too much, but now that I've addressed that, you don't have to do that anymore, I'm aware. Like I said, thank you so much for watching and please subscribe if you liked this video. And now let's get into my 10 perfect spring palettes for 2022. I'm just going to go in no particular order here and start with this one. This is the After Dark palette from Lethal Cosmetics. I bought this last year and I think I named the video I did with it something like the ultimate spring palette. I just did one palette that year. And I still think it is. It could be your ultimate all-in-one spring palette. It has these beautiful brights, but also some pastels. But most importantly, it has a white. And with the white you can of course lighten all the other shades. What I like to do is just choose one matte, put it all over my eye like I did now, and then use the white to tone down the edges a little bit. And then pick one or two nice shimmers to go with it. And I think the possibilities are really endless with this one. My personal favorite shade here, and there is some competition, is this one, which is called Arcade, which has a beautiful, I almost want to say silvery, pinkish peachish, that's a difficult word, peach-like color. So it's more like a peachy pink with a silver reflect, and I think that's very original. It's usually gold. So I really like this palette. By the way, there are palettes in here from the drugstore, some from more high-end or indie companies, and then also some, maybe one, I think one or two I would consider luxury. So there's a little bit of everything here. What I didn't include were my quads, because, or quints from Dior. They're usually limited edition and I just wanted to keep it simple and talk about 10 bigger palettes. Then let's get into what I'm wearing on my eyes right now. This is the Udens Eye Elva 2 Mini Forest palette. This one I got in my mystery box in May last year, so I don't even have it that long. But there are some significant dents in this one because I feel like it's such a diverse palette for being so small. You can go the neutral route. You actually can get a full neutral look with this one, or the full colorful route like I did today. And if you do that, if you do the full colorful route, this is what you get. It gets intense, but it's beautiful. This blue, it surprises me every time. Every time I think, yeah, I'm over that palette, I want to use something else, I still use it and I'm blown away by this blue. Let me do a better swatch. It has this beautiful greenish minty and also gold reflect. These mattes are really pigmented, the shimmers are beautiful. Like I said, you can go multiple routes with this one. I think for such a small palette, it's hard to ignore in your collection. I feel like if I go over my palettes and I want something springy, then this is one my eye catches all the time. Alright, up next is the NYX Ultimate Utopia palette. This is a 16 pan palette. I think this is pretty old. I personally own it for at least 2 years. And I just find this one so inspiring. I think it works for any kind of season, but specifically because of those lighter pink shades and this bright green, I do feel like it's the perfect spring palette. But if you want to, you can get very deep and intense with this one as well. I do that all the time too, but it works for any occasion. I was thinking, Urban Decay released their, I don't know, their garden palette or something, and the quality wasn't that great, if I remember correctly, and there wasn't enough depth for people in there. And I was thinking about this one. This is a perfect alternative for that palette. It has the combination of the greens and the neutrals and the pinky shades, and it does go very deep. So I think this is more diverse and more suitable for everyone. I think the quality of this one is pretty good. So would recommend this drugstore favorite. Now I want to make a little jump to another favorite of mine, but definitely a little bit more pricey one. This was my favorite palette of 2021. It's the Rose Quartz from Huda Beauty. Now this came out in the autumn, late autumn I think. But I immediately thought it was such a springy palette. And I like these kind of tones all year round. I really do. I like my pastels. I am very fair, so they usually pop really good on my skin. This is supposedly a really light shade, but on me it looks at least mid-toned. So I like this palette all year round, and I do feel like it has these very springy colors. So I've seen this light pink on people who are a little bit more deep than me, maybe more medium skin toned. They pack it on really heavily on the lid, and it just, oh, it looks so beautiful. Yeah, so lots of pinks, blues, purples, little bit of neutral. Those neutrals I find a little bit more warm and therefore not definitely spring vibes, but they do make the palette more versatile. So yeah, I think this is a really good one. Up next we have one of my most recent purchases, which I guess I can officially say that it's made it to my top favorites because I use it all the time. It's the Glamlight Ice Cream Dream palette. Of course the packaging is amazing. My boyfriend came in here a couple of minutes ago and he said, no, that's a summer palette. But I see summer palettes sort of as a, what do you call it? Prolonging of the interpolation of the spring palettes. Or at least here it doesn't really get that bronzy hot that it sometimes gets in other countries. So for me, spring and summer is just sort of the same thing. Anyway, if you look at the inside, you definitely see those more bright pastels. I wanted to include this one because it's not your typical pastel palette. What I see with pastels, and I don't own that many palettes myself, but what I see in reviews is that they usually don't really work on deeper skin tones. I have seen a review, at least one, of someone with a medium tan skin tone, Karen Harris, and this one worked really well for her. So I think that's a positive thing. And on me these are definitely a little bit more deep, like this shade, but I still think they're very nice and they give me spring vibes. What I don't love about this one is that there are a little bit too many neutrals for my liking, but still the price is right for this one. And then finally for my first batch, we have one that I don't think many people will suspect that I will include in this video. It's the Head in the Clouds palette by Mitchell. Like I said, I use this all year round. I use this for my New Year's Eve tutorial here on YouTube. I used it in the summer, I use it in the fall. But I feel like if I have to choose a season for this one, it's mainly spring. Because it has the white again, so you can lighten all the other shades. And apart from a couple of deeper shades, all of this runs pretty light, I think. I really love the fact that there are a couple of yellows in here. This really light, pale, beautiful lemony yellow and this more bright yellow. And a couple of really nice teals and blues, and the diversity with this one is immense. You can really create so many different looks. I haven't even scratched the surface of this one and I've used it at least 10 times. So I don't know, it kind of keeps me inspired. And I feel like this is kind of similar to the Lethal shade. I guess I really like that peachy shade, peachy shimmer shade. But also this more orangey shimmer is really beautiful. So I find this the perfect spring palette. Now, I want to introduce someone who has a favorite palette, but he only chose it because of the packaging. I am of course talking about Litten. If you know Litten, he has his own Instagram page, if you'd like to follow him over there. His favorite is definitely this one, because it has glitters. And I really wanted to make an appearance in this video and tell you so. And now he's going to go. Anyway, this is one of my picks. And this is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Amrezy palette. I know this doesn't really scream spring on first sight because of all these deep tones. But I feel like any look, whatever the season is, even if they're more pastel-y, could use a little bit of that. It looks more grounded. It looks less like this. It looks a little bit more modern, I think, than just using a lot of colorful shades without any sort of diversity. And also, of course, there are some beautiful pinky, peachy, even a blue, those beautiful light shades. Of course, my favorite, I think everyone's favorite, is Barb, which almost has a minty reflect. It's really beautiful. I almost can't resist it anytime I use this palette. I've used this one a lot and yeah, I use it all year round. I feel like it's a very wintry palette too, but yeah, I feel like it screams spring. We're down to the final 3 palettes and I have 2 drugstore and then 1 very, very luxury. Yeah, my 8th pick is the Soph palette, the 3rd one with Makeup Revolution. I wanted to include a rainbow palette because I feel like springtime is the time when people start experimenting with color just a little bit more. I personally felt that the way Soph selected these rainbow colors, it felt a little bit more light to me than some other rainbow palettes. I'll show you. So this is what the palette looks like. It has the white, which of course makes every shade a possible pastel, but it has this bright yellow and some, I think this is a very important one, this nice blue. I think the way she curated this, it works any season, of course. It screams summer too because of those bronzy shades. But I wanted to include it in my spring favorite palettes. And by the way, I'm not even sure if I'm going to do this every season. I just felt inspired today. So yeah, you can do a lot with this. And I think the quality is pretty decent. It's not perfect, but it is quite affordable. So if you can still get this, I'm not sure if it was limited edition, but if it's still available, I recommend this, especially if you don't have a lot of color in your collection. You can just combine those neutrals with a pop of green, which is so popular right now, or a pop of that beautiful bright blue. I think this is definitely a good palette to own. The next palette I want to recommend is this one by this is not sister brand of Makeup Revolution. This is from I Heart Revolution, and I almost can't believe that I'm including 2 Makeup Revolution palettes. I usually don't really love their formula, but these are definitely the 2 best palettes that I've ever tried from them. And they do match the theme so well. So this is the Tasty Avocado palette. Don't look at the mess. It has these beautiful greens and blues and a couple of browns, but you can ignore those. It's mainly about the greens and the blues for this one. I feel like you can use this palette to create a pretty similar look, but I'll have to admit, nothing can compete with this beautiful blue shimmer that I have all over my eye. But some of these truly are very good. See, the color is almost identical. It just doesn't have that same gold reflex. And even though I own this palette for at least 2 years, the quality still remains pretty much the same. So for a drugstore palette, I think that's a big plus. Yeah, I feel inspired every year again to create a totally green sort of St. Patrick's Day look, even though I never celebrate that. But that's sort of the vibe I'm getting from this. But I feel like it'll be beautiful all the season long. And then finally, my most expensive pick in this round, but still very much worth it in my opinion, is the Mothership 7 Divine Rose 1 by Pat McGrath. Of course, those roses already spring and nice weather and nice fragrance and all of that. But also this color story. I feel like if you want to do something a little bit more appropriate for the season, if you like to apply your makeup in such a way, but you don't want to go all out with the bright pastels and I don't know, all the other shades, then I feel like this is your nice spring neutral option, because it is a little bit more rosy toned and it does have a couple of beautiful almost pastel-y shades. Definitely this one is a little bit more pastel pink, but they are duochrome, so they do give a little bit extra to your look. Of course, the showstopper of this palette is this beautiful glitter. Every time I use this palette, I use that glitter. I just can't help it. And you can get a lot of depth with this one as well. This shade over here really goes very deep. I feel like this is a very all-round palette. I feel like this is a good one to own if you want to embrace the spring spirit, but you don't want to go all out with the color. And I feel the quality of Pat McGrath is just unbeatable. So I did recently see, if at least the thumbnail of a video by Samantha March, that this was one of her regret purchases. And I guess I understand that, because if I compare this to my other Pat McGrath palettes, this one is definitely a little bit more basic, but it's just, for me, it's such a showstopper every time I use it. And I use it a lot. I actually make my followers on Instagram pretty crazy with this one. So there you have it. Those are my 10 picks for spring 2022. I hope you found this inspirational, and if so, then please, again, consider subscribing. I'm trying to grow my little YouTube family over here. And again, thank you so much for watching.